All right.
He's just making it harder for me to negotiate the EPP contract.
Good evening. I will call the meeting of the East Providence City Council to order for December 10th. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll of the council?
Councilman Fogarty. Councilman Lawson.
Yeah.
Council Vice President Rico.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Souza.
Councilwoman Souza has contacted me. She will not be able to make it. I think Councilman Fogarty is on his way, but we do have a quorum, so we'll begin the meeting.
Council President.
I'm present. Thank you. Sorry about that. Not in too much of a rush. We'll ask a guest here tonight from the school department, Mr. Craig Enos. Would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Madam Clerk, if you would proceed with the agenda.
Executive session. The City Council of East Providence may meet in executive session pursuant to RIGL 42-46-5, A2 litigation complaint.
Thank you. I'd like to take up this item at this time. Item letter B, discussion and possible vote on collective bargaining agreement between East Providence School Committee, Rhode Island Council 94, AFSCME, Local 2969. I would just give my annual preamble about this. I think it's really strictly a school department, school committee task. And charter was changed a while ago to say that the city council must either confirm or not confirm. It's just something that we have not been party to in a negotiating basis, but we are confident that the process is finished, and maybe in the future, this will go back to being just solely a school department issue. But having said that, Finance Officer Mr. Craig Enos is here from the school department. Mr. Solicitor, any concerns on the city's part?
As you said, the school department negotiated this. It's the role of the council under the charter to ratify or not ratify the contract. You have been provided a summary of the tentative agreement and the changes of the contract. I don't think we've been provided the full contract yet, because I think they just provided us with the underlying changes in the current contract. There weren't many provisions that actually were changed. And then, of course, the financial impact statement, which was the last page, which is also a requirement indicating that under the fiscal year 2025, the increase of the school department would be 161,525. Fiscal year 26 would be 137,515. Fiscal year 27 would be, fiscal year 26 would be 137,515. Fiscal year 27 would be 120,216 for a total increase over those 3 years of approximately $420,000.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lawson to approve, seconded by Council Vice President Rego. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? There are none. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Enos.
Do we want to bang out the executive?
Sure, we might as well
make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
According to Rhode Island law and as outlined by the city clerk, we will recess for a few minutes to executive session to complete that agenda. We shall return shortly.
That was a vote of all three members to go into executive session.
Yes, all three unanimous. Thank you.
we are. Where are we at? Coming out of. Motion to seal the executive session of the East Providence City Council on the 10th day of December 2024.
So we resumed the regular meeting from executive session. Council Vice President Rego makes a motion to seal the minutes of the
Second.
executive session, seconded by Councilman Lawson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have that, 3-0. Thank you. Next item.
Consent calendar for discussion and possible vote, 2025 annual regular meeting calendar.
Make a motion to approve, but I would like to discuss moving up the time, but that's another discussion at a later date. Especially in the winter when it gets darker.
Okay. For now, the motion by Councilman Lawson is to approve the meeting dates as listed,
Second.
second by Council Vice President Rego. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have. It. Thank you. That will be available if anyone in the city is interested. Eventually, will be on the city website or get in touch with the city clerk's office. Next item.
Licenses for discussion and possible vote.
Make a motion to bundle.
Second.
Which ones, C1 and C2? So the motion is to bundle the licenses as listed,
There's only
C1
two,
and
correct?
C2, yes. Seconded by Council Vice President Rego. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
I make a motion to approve licenses C1 and C2.
Motion by Council Vice President to approve the bundled licenses C1, C2, seconded by Councilman Lawson. Any comment?
Anybody know what the Perky Turkey is? Is it a food truck?
It's a food, yes,
Nice.
at the city ceremony. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Next item.
Appointments, East Providence Water Commission, Waterfront Commission appointment.
You want to say anything or I'll make a motion?
Is there any public comment?
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, well, 1 second, we'll go back to, there were no communications, but there is public comment, if you'd like to read that name and if the person is here.
Gianna Lewis Feely.
Hi, come right up to the podium to your right there. Thanks. And just give your name and address for the record. Push that button in there so that's. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Gianna Lewis Fairley. I'm a physician assistant in Rhode Island. I'm opening up a business on 2740 Pawtucket Ave at Aura Salon Suites.
Welcome.
Thank you. I will be doing Botox and filler and skincare for clients. So,
Thank you.
you.
Have you started?
yes, I was in Johnston, so I moved over here to be a little closer to family.
Can you work on physical appearance of the two gentlemen? Right? Or is
Yes,
are they
I have
beyond?
men clients too for Botox.
Okay.
I got very nice soft skin.
Yes, I can see from.
So you got a license we just approved.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay.
And when you plan on being open?
Hopefully soon, whenever it gets approved and going. Hopefully this weekend. So,
Well, email the administration. They'll do the proclamation, Facebook stuff for you.
okay.
Get the word out.
And I met the newspaper lady too today. So
Awesome. Welcome.
thank you guys.
Wish you a lot
Good
of
luck.
success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, your request is for next Tuesday, I believe, the 17th. Okay, great. I'm sure we'll be fine, but you're welcome to come back. And thank you for being here. Good luck.
What's that one for?
Hers is for the license.
Oh.
She's on for Tuesday.
No worries.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? No, okay. Now we can go to appointments. Council Vice President?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to start off by thanking Manny Barrows for his time on the Waterfront Commission in Ward 1. Because of his professional daily business and family obligations, he thought it was time to move on. And I want to thank him for his leadership in filling that role for people of Ward 1. I am very happy to appoint Kevin Roach as the new Ward 1 appointment to the Waterfront Commission. Kevin has lived in the city for over 25 years, very active in the community, past president of Rumford Little League, involved in the county sports athletic program, and a lot of other activities in the city of East Providence. Kevin has a great background in banking, and he will be a valuable asset to the people of Ward 1 on the Waterfront Commission. I move passage of Kevin P. Roach to the Waterfront Commission.
Second.
Motion by Council Vice President Rego, seconded by Councilman Lawson, and I want to concur with everything that Council VP said. This will be a welcome addition, not only for Ward 1's representation, but citywide on the Waterfront Commission. Thank you for bringing that forward. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, 3-0. Thank you. Other appointments? Don't see any. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Council members, A, for discussion, request for total amount of ARPA
Opera.
funding left overall and discussion on how to allocate the funds. Councilman Lawson?
So this is more, I'm a statement. We don't need the number, but I want to give a shout out to this city council. By us locking up that 14 million, we were able to make sure Ken Field gets funded because we didn't have the money for that. The business incubator, the concession building, the parking lot. So many good things happened because we worked together and we said, listen, there's more important things than just one single. So, we're at the end. This is December 24. Pretty much we allocated what needed to be allocated. I think we did a good job, that there's a lot of positive things for the city that came from this funding. I do believe if there's any left over, Frank, you mentioned Glen Line, is that all funded, ready to go?
At the last meeting and meeting with the administration in conjunction with Dan, we secured the funding for
Awesome.
online bond and the backstops for Kimberly and Rock, correct?
Awesome.
Yeah, I do. I mean, if the council so wishes, I do have a presentation just to give a brief update on
Sure, why don't you give us
The
an
ARPA-
update?
yeah,
Because
the ARPA funds in general,
Sure.
and which that is obviously included. So I got some documentation here that I'll pass out. Okay, so before you have three documents. One is the presentation that you see on the screen here. The second is what we are calling the PO detail, the document that is landscape with all the expenditures on it. And then the third is what we're calling kind of a category breakdown. And this breaks down expenses to date as well as where future funding will be allocated. So I worked closely with Glenda and Malcolm previous to kind of get all this information together for you. So if you could to the second, yep, go back one, please. So this presentation will just cover, a rough overview of the ARPA funds and categories and expenditures to date, summarize future allocation breakdowns, and then we'll highlight, some key investments and, impacts that these ARPA funds have had. So to date, we have allocated 25.9 million in round numbers in allocated POs or encumbered POs. The city received a total of 27.7 million from the federal government, and an additional 1.6 million from the town of Barrington to assist in, it's a reimbursement payment for the water pollution control facility lining project. So in total, the city received just shy of 29.4 million. Of those allocated funds, the PO allocation, to date is around 26 million. And we've broken that down in your, that PO detail into a number of categories. Those categories are broken down by community development and support, citywide asset and infrastructure improvements, citywide placemaking, public safety improvements, community recreation center, citywide IT improvements, payroll and benefits. And as we get further down, we will break each of these categories up into further subcategories to better define the work. So of the 26 million, go to the next slide. I've kind of broken that out in a pie chart to kind of show where the funding has been spent. So 17 million in asset infrastructure, and these are all round numbers. 1.1 million for community development and support. Payroll and benefits is just over $1 million. Citywide IT improvements, 1.3. Community recreation center is 1.57 to date. And keep in mind, these numbers are strictly what we have encumbered in POs. This does not include the remaining balance of what is left in the ARPA fund. Public safety improvements at 3.5 million. Citywide placemaking at $280,000. So of that, community development and support, the 1.1 million, if you go to the next slide, we've spent, or we've had encumbered in purchase orders, 75,000 in Ready Set Play money. Storefront improvement program has provided around $820,000 to the community, and then additional, miscellaneous expenses that are all broken down in that PO detail of 250,000, just over 250,000.
A question for the solicitor, I think, on this one. The storefront improvement, have we been getting all the receipts that we need from the businesses? So just in case we do get audited by the federal government, that we're in compliance.
So I'm aware that as part of the program, they usually give out the receipts in two tranches, the money's in two tranches. The first one is they sign a lease or whatever they need to do. And then they don't get reimbursed until they actually show the actual expenditures. I don't do that, but the Department of Planning does that. But I believe that, yes, we've had a couple of issues. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There have been at least 2 people that we've had difficulty with, but we're in negotiations and we're trying to plug that hole when we have it. But the program overall has run well.
All right, so to keep moving on for encumbered purchase orders for citywide asset and infrastructure, there's around 17.1 million that's been spent to date, either spent or still open in purchase orders. I won't go through every single one of these. It's an extensive list, but just to kind of name a few, Bull Point Park improvements, Pierce Stadium, splash pad at Providence Ave. We're just about to undergo, or actually, I'm sorry, that'll be later on in the presentation, but citywide GIS and asset management development, sewer system improvements, which include improvements to the treatment plant, vehicle and fleet improvements, and just general transportation improvements. So if you go to the next slide, that kind of breaks down a pie chart of what where that money has been allocated to date. the next slide, citywide placemaking. So of the 200 and just shy of 280,000, 7,200 has gone to the utility box art project. Big belly receptacles that will be distributed throughout the city in the spring, 133,000. Citywide street sign improvements. We had the ability to purchase a vinyl printer for the highway shop, a laminator, and a fair amount of new aluminum blanks. And we're going to start implementing new street signs throughout the city come the spring. So we purchased a lot of that material and hope to start. We'll start seeing some new fresh street signs throughout the city. And then in addition, there was also just kind of a catch-all number of 67,000, and that is broken down into more detail in that PO detail that I provided. Moving on to the next one, we have public safety improvements, just shy of 3.5 million. As the council's aware, the police department is, the building is under renovation at $2 million with the additional funding coming from a grant received by the police. Animal shelter improvements to date, we've spent around 73,000 on improvements to the animal shelter. You'll see in the coming slides where some additional funds will be going. But in addition to that, the public safety dispatch center, just 457,000, and then general public safety improvements of 884,000. And again, that number is sort of broken down more granularly in that POD. And then some additional investments that were made that didn't really have any subcategories, so I kind of bundled these all together, was the rec center. So to date, we've spent or have encumbered 1.5 million. Citywide IT improvements, 920,000, and payroll and benefits, we've spent $1 million. So moving forward, of the 29 million, there's roughly 3.4 million of funds that need to be allocated, essentially, or obligated, excuse me. So of that 3.4 million, we've provided, a breakdown here of where these funds, will be invested. So I'll go through these because these, obviously in a little more detail here, but we have some outstanding invoices for some additional park benches throughout the city. So there's $12,000 there that will be utilized to purchase park benches to replace, old and broken benches throughout the city. Additionally, the council approved a $100,000 change order as part of the Kent Heights Improvement Project. That money has not all been spent to date. However, we're earmarking the $100,000 that was passed in that resolution. Excuse me, to pave the parking lot, do some line striping, install a shed on a concrete slab there. So that will cover the cost, and install some solar powered lighting as well. In addition, there is 975,000 allocated for the Crescent Park Carousel, the Crescent Park concession, and then the community center.
Dan,
Yep.
can you explain 975?
That was the allocation of the monies that was.
We allocated 1 million by ordinance or resolution, 1 million towards that project.
Okay. I'm not aware of.
Yeah, we allocated 1 million. Did you get the RFPs? Are they starting to roll in? Are we
No,
looking?
not yet. We have a bit of. I don't have it.
So if there's some overage, this 3 million could cover if it's more than what we have? I know for a fact because I wrote it. It was $1 million allocation.
No, Councilman, my only question was going to be, and good evening, Council, was whether or not the verbiage on all of them said up. I don't have it in front of me, but I can check. Was it up to 1 million?
We allocated $1 million. I don't know what the.
Yeah, I think a lot of the language, like for most of them, most of the council ARPA suggestions were.
So there should be 25.
Another
25
25.
more added to that 975. Or an even 1 million plus we had, I believe, 500 thou that we spent on the architects. that was previously allocated through capital.
I can double check, but I think the
Thank you.
language was up to one.
There was about 1.5 million towards this project when we started, and 1 million of it came from opera funding.
Yeah, so we can certainly look into that.
As long as we got enough to pay the building, I don't care if it's 900 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we won't, unfortunately.
As long as
we won't
it's
until
covered.
We open the.
But it was originally.
So if it's a little over what we have, we can dig into this 3.4 because we already have this project.
That's where I'm going to kind of leave that to
so-
Solicitor Marcello.
So we're kind of in a little uncharted territory because of the deadline of December 31st. And as I explained to you when we had your train resolution for that trackless train, the federal government, I guess, within the last year or 10 months came out with new rules as to what obligated means. And they basically said that because everyone's approaching this deadline, an obligation is more than just passing a council resolution or an ordinance. They will actually want to see either a contract, a purchase order, or whatnot by the end of the year. However, recognizing that, and every town is doing this right now, scrambling for unspent money because a lot of the projects couldn't be done because they didn't have enough people, manpower, professionals to do the thing, do these studies or whatever needed to be done. They have come out with a rule that basically saying that as long as it's obligated through a memorandum of understanding between the chief executive and the department that's going to have these monies. And so that's why it says MOU. The last couple of weeks, I've been writing these MOUs so that hopefully that these will be solid, that the U.S. Treasury will recognize these as obligated funds. Because honestly, there is a fear across every city and town because of the change of administrations in Washington that any
January 20.
money could be swept away. So we're hoping that these are the rules. We're playing under the rules that they put out, and we think this is good enough to protect it. And so, again, some of the stuff we couldn't go out. We still have to follow all the bidding requirements, and we just wouldn't have the time to get competitive bidding by December 31st and all that other stuff. That's why we're kind of in this no man's land. But we think, based upon the rule that was promulgated by the Treasury, that this is enough to allocate and obligate, and really the word is obligate, these remaining funds. I've been working with all the departments and making sure that this is hopefully crossing all our T's and dotting our I's.
And the bids close, what, in a week, roughly?
Or
Bear with me in a minute. I can pull up.
so to the extent that there are things that are bid and POs, those are good, and we're with contracts signed and whatnot. But some of this stuff, obviously, that we don't have.
My only concern is that the concession building's funded. That's it.
So the word is the concession
Obligated.
is obligated. It's obligated.
Whatever lawyer speak you want to put, as long as it
It's
gets
obligated.
done.
We believe that this obligates those funds.
The bid opening for the new building will be the 19th, a week from Thursday.
You haven't, I thought we saw that you guys already put it up.
Bid opening, so they will open the bids.
Yeah, it's been put out at the end of the process, yeah.
All right, so just to keep kind of moving along here, we have community rec center allocation. As the council's aware, there was 3 million allocated. This figure of 1.4 and what has already been encumbered of the 1.5 brings us to that 3 million. The citywide hydraulic analysis, we did receive 3 bids for that work. The low bid and the selected contractor came in at 130,000. We actually just learned yesterday or the day before that will be receiving $325,000 grant from the US EPA to conduct this work. So that's actually really good. We'll utilize that funding to cover the cost of this $130,000 study, but that will also allow us to cover essentially design projects. So this study would get us to a point where they're making recommendations as to what would need to, be completed in the city. But this 325 will allow us to, go to the next step. So we've earmarked or we've obligated 75,000, which is a grant requirement for a match for the 325. We've also obligated $40,000 for the Riverside splash pad. There's already been purchase orders encumbered for the installation of the splash pad. However, there is some drainage improvements that need to be made in order to make that project a reality. So
So quick question for you. We allocated 200,000. We don't need the full 200,000 because do we have to do another vote to unallocate whatever?
Resolutions, all resolutions said up to
Up to- okay.
200,000. So
I make
to
sure
the
I-
extent that that dropped off, it got reallocated somewhere else. That's
yeah, so similar to Oldham School, the repairs that have been made, we didn't utilize the remaining funds, and those have been sort of distributed between the projects you see in front of you.
How far along? I saw they started the roof. I've been out of action a bit.
The sloped roof is complete.
nice.
All the trim work's been done.
The
The
asbestos is out, all that. Awesome.
cupola was repainted, and they are currently working on the flat portion of the roof in the back of the building. So hopefully within the next few weeks, they should be complete.
A lot of excitement for that project.
So then the next project we have here is, as I mentioned before, about 78,000 has been spent to date. But we have obligated 200,000 for the animal control facility. The facility will be receiving a new roof, some new flooring, new waterproof furniture for the areas to clean the dog bowls and cat bowls, and some new appliances that will better serve that building. So that will encompass that. We've also obligated 65,000 to complete Bold Point Park. There's still some electrical work that needs to be completed, and we've decided, or we're going to attempt to submit to CRMC for the John Lewis Park and actually have that paved rather than just regraded with stone. So I think that make that a big improvement there. In addition, we have obligated 75,000 in placemaking citywide for signs to the city and just some general other placemaking banners and so on throughout the city. So we've obligated that. And then lastly, the number is not a perfect round number because we had obviously a few cents of remaining funds left. So we added some additional funds to the original 445,000 that was obligated for park improvements at Lyle Bourne, Glen Line, and Kimberly Rock, and we've put the balance of the remaining funds there for just shy of 460,000. We'll be undergoing some basketball court resurfacing, tennis court resurfacing at Glen Lyon. Kimberly Rock will receive some backstops, as Councilman Rigo suggested, and Bourne Lyle will also get looked at for some improvements there.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Pickleball
Council.
courts at both Bourne and Glen Line.
Yes, correct.
As well.
Glen Line will we'll be
one.
installing a brand new pickleball court, and then at Lyle Bourne they will be striped within the tennis court.
I see them putting a blue structure up at the rec today.
Yes, that is composting bathroom. So that's the bathroom facility. That part.
Yeah, you're not breaking it in.
No comment. So my observation is that from the tip of Rumford to the tip of Riverside and everything in between, due to ARPA and some other efforts, for those who have questioned, was ARPA needed or what was it all about? We have provided infrastructure needs in from soup to nuts in all kinds of different areas, small projects to fixing a seawall at Crescent Park and other things to the tune of $29 million, which we otherwise did not have in this city, right? This is not coming out of a budget per se. I think this has been wisely utilized, and we've had give and take. We've gone back and forth, and that's what government's all about. We've differed at some things, and we've came to a final plan, and that's what debate is all about. And in the end, I would say to our citizens, we've got almost $30 million of needed things. Some things, maybe you could do without a splash pad, but the public wants some things like that. They want to have them in different parts of the city, so we'll have 3 now. And we have all of these other projects fixing important infrastructure. So, and it's going to end.
Yeah, that we would otherwise,
We would otherwise not be doing any of these things without that, utilizing those monies. And I certainly am not confident that there'll be more coming down the pike in the next several years. So, and then maybe that's the way it should be. Okay. But this was a great effort, and it's provided our community with a lot of necessities. And it wasn't like we could just take that 30 million and throw it in a budget. That wasn't the intention from the federal government. And if we did, it would only be a one-time fix anyway. So most of this stuff is going to last for a long, long time. So I thank you for putting together this as a comprehensive report, and thank the mayor and Patricia and others, and mostly my council colleagues who've been on top of this from day one and have pulled and shrugged and got it done. Thank you. If there are no other questions on this, we can
I'm good.
move on.
Thank you.
Next item, Madam Clerk.
Update on the $1.2 million allocated for financial relief for businesses affected by the Washington Bridge closure. Councilman Lawson.
And I think B and C is kind of combined. That somehow got
Yeah, we probably.
we from the last meeting, and so anyway, go ahead.
So,
Council.
mine, again, basically a statement. I was very, very happy to see that the amount of the grants got bumped up. From the beginning, the small business loans didn't do it. $500 wasn't going to do it. I'm glad. It sucked. We had to talk about getting a lawyer to protect the small businesses, but I am happy that they're going to be restitution for the failure of RIDOT. And I was a little disgusted with the governors and Alvides thing today. Basically, they don't see any problem with their job. Well, when you're in charge, you take the good and the bad. And RIDOT failed us. And for them to be up there saying, well, it wasn't us, it was just the contractors. Well, they failed East Providence. They did. But I'm glad that the money's going to be, I'm very much against any kind of gimmicky gift card thing. I'll still be voting no, but if there's leftover after restitution, if we want to talk streetscapes or whatever we could do to help these businesses in that way, I'm all in. But, it was said, oh, these people were never made whole. But now I'm hearing, yeah, it was enough to cover what they lost. So
I
I
had
am
heard
happy we're
from
moving forward like that. And I hope everybody who was affected, get your paperwork in. You got to quantify your loss. You can't just say, I lost money. You got to show us, you got to show us that, lost. And I hope we reimburse them for the full amount that they lost. I think 1.2 million based on the number of people applying, we should be able to do that. So I'm happy that it took that turn, It sucked that we had to do what we had to do to get people to pay attention, but I'm just happy that these people are getting the compensation they deserve for the failure of RIDOT.
Thank you, Councilman. So I would ask the Chief of Staff comment briefly. So the businesses now will be receiving up to $10,000, right? If everything is appropriate
That's correct. So what we found was from the beginning, the administration's intent was to get the $1.2 million in the form of grants and or the gift cards into the hands of residents and business owners. But it's a process, right? So we had to go through the process with the applications. What we found is surprisingly is that we had 264 or so applications. More than half of those were fraudulent. So we did vet them. We worked with Skills for Rhode Island's Future on that process. And again, more than of the 264, over half were fraudulent. So everything takes time. And what we did not want to do is commit to making all of these businesses whole, because some of them had, 40,000, 10,000 in losses, 7,000 in losses. So it was difficult for us to commit to that until we vetted and saw how many applications came through. In the end, we had about 111 not applications, but actual approvals after being vetted, excuse me. And of those, roughly 92 of those have been notified, and 19 of those are being audited. So what we were able to do is, based on that, because there weren't as many businesses that we thought were going to come out and request or apply for the grant funding, we were able to calculate, and for some of those businesses who had 8,000 in losses or 10,000, we were able to give up to 10,000 to make. And I want to say 41, so a little over half of, or just under half of the businesses were actually made whole, like they got the full amount back.
And I will say that I know that fraud and scams did cause some delays. For instance, there was a business right here on Taunton Avenue, and the request came in, and of course, being the city that we are, we're not that big, but we're not small, but people here in City Hall knew right away that's not the owner of this business.
That's correct.
So when checking, found out, well, that's some out of country scam, basically. And so that took a little time. But so what's left now? How much money?
Wait a minute,
is left?
before we move on from the fraud,
Yep.
any local business that committed fraud, are we going after?
No, they didn't. Outside of the
There was
local
100
business.
and something outside people?
This business on Taunton Avenue had no idea.
That's correct.
Somebody used them. That's what the fraud was.
So the people that committed this fraud, are they identified?
I don't think that it's
Would it
like
be the FBI?
It's
Would-
like scams on your phone, and
I don't give a shit. If they're trying to steal money from us, I don't want to go out.
well, I'm sure. Yeah, these.
All right. But is the Attorney General in the loop? Are they aware?
So
I don't know if they were told about it, but it was stopped. And they
right, so
didn't.
there was
That's
fraud at
fine,
all
but
levels.
somebody still tried to take money from these people. I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I mean, I know I've had my accounts through the years, a few dollars missing. We could never. The bank would go after them, but I still have that communion money. Yes. So is there a number of what's like? Is it too late also?
So we're still
businesses?
technically in the process. It is too late for applications, but we're still technically in the process at the moment, because as I mentioned, 19 of those businesses are being audited. So to give you, we could give you a final number once.
Who does the auditing?
We're working with
Right.
Commerce, and our department is doing that. Excuse me, the city is doing that with Skills for RI and with Commerce. So there was vetting through the city of Providence did their vetting, Commerce did their vetting, and of course us through our partnership with Skills for Rhode Island's Future.
How do we vet? Can you explain that?
There was a
process?
number of things that were done. So obviously, when you pull up the spreadsheet, we used a third-party application, if you will, and the applications were submitted that way. They had to show documentation. They had to show an ID. So I can give you a basic example without going too deep in. I don't want to encourage any more fraud, but I can give you a basic example. So for example, if you were submitting, saying that you were XYZ business, and you're going to send a photo of yourself or your passport, but then you also applied for ABC business using the same passport background with a different photo. So there were things that were very obvious in terms of fraud. And they also used a system, which would, like a software system, which would, pull out those that were fraudulent. So it was vetted through software. It was vetted through, and then we took the final list that we received from Skills for Rhode Island's Future. And as the council president said, we know that person on that photo is not that local business owner. So some of them were quite obvious. And there were a lot of repeats as well.
So do you think if we re-advertise that it's not just a $500,000 grant, maybe more people will apply? Because I did hear some people say, why am I going to waste my time for $500?
I'm sorry, I don't know the
Is there
question.
any talk about reopening the application process?
We're still in the process. So at this point, we want to be able to provide the checks to those who have applied, get that final number, and then see what's left from that.
So we're
So applications
not
are
yet at
closed.
that point. We don't have a balance
That's correct. We did
No.
extend it twice as well, so,
Yeah.
other applications.
But like the councilman says, now that people know they could get up to
It could be more than-
10,000 instead of 500, they may be more apt to come forward.
Well, what we were doing is we asked what your losses were. So people who had a loss of $2,500, $2,000, $250, they all applied. Whether their loss was $1,000 or $40,000, they applied for it because money is money. And if you're a business and you're struggling, you're going to apply for any of those proceeds to offset the amount that you lost. That's just any smart business person would.
Now, we absolutely have to, they got to qualify, they got to quantify their losses, but how onerous is this application? How much documentation are you asking? How much?
They had to submit identification, W-9s. They had to show losses over a certain period of time. I want to say December of 2023 and January and February. So they actually had to prove all their losses with documentation.
So it wasn't like a 10, 15-page application that they had to go through and,
I don't know how many pages were in the application. But I can check and find out
Nah.
and get back to you.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the update. It's basically good news. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Public hearing, ordinance, second and final passage for discussion and possible vote. An ordinance in amendment of Chapter 2 of the revised ordinances of the City of East Providence, Rhode Island, 1998, as amended, entitled Administration. This ordinance creates a new provision related to the establishment of an East Providence School Department Capital Improvement Revolving Fund. Sponsor, Council President Rodrick and Councilwoman Souza.
So this is a public hearing, final passage, it's an oft discussed item. Quicker we get this done, the quicker we can start with the fund. Before I open it up to public hearing, any comments from the council?
Again, I just want to, I can't thank you enough for your leadership. I know I'm a pain in the ass when it comes to the schools and funding of the schools. And you and I have talked ad nauseum about how historically the city kind of didn't do what it should have, taking care of these schools. So we're kind of playing catch up a little bit in some cases, but we're making awesome strides and this is awesome. I can't thank you enough for your leadership, for helping calm me down at times. I know I get a little passionate and sometimes my Italian thick-headedness can get too much, but I strongly support this. I think it's awesome. I'm glad there was money left over to seed this fund. I look forward to continuing to find ways to feed it, whether it's through the yearly capital, grant money, whatever Craig and Sandy can come up with. I think it's a good thing. I think it's important that we invest in our schools. If we want to build East Providence, we got to remember that schools need to come along, even though everybody keeps, oh, nobody's having kids anymore. Well, some are still having kids that we got to educate. So that's it.
No,
I'm a
I
strong
appreciate
supporter,
that.
And I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
I appreciate that, and you are never a pain when it comes to supporting our families and education in this city, as well as fixing potholes. We're charged to do it all, and this is a great step forward to supporting our public schools. At this point, I would ask if anyone here in the meeting would like to speak on this final passage for this fund. It is been discussed often, has the support of all of those in the school administration, school committee, and on the city side. The city could have opted to just earmark this money for non-school items in a way, but you know, the choice was to let's keep it there. I'll ask one more time, hearing and seeing no other comments at this time, I'll close the public hearing. Any other comments from the council? Is there a motion?
Motion to move passage.
Second.
Motion by Council Vice President Rego to move passage, seconded by Councilman Lawson. And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, passes 3-0. Thank you all for your hard work on that. Next item.
New business, mayor communication.
Yes, Chief of Staff Rosendi.
Okay, this will be quick and simple.
You didn't put the yes as, I mean, that's awesome.
That's right.
Awesome.
I answer to just about everything these days. So we do have Jim Marvel, our Director of Water, here this evening, who will be able to talk. This was a little bit more time sensitive for the last council meeting, but to discuss lead awareness and our letters, the letters that went out in regulation.
I got, fine. I don't, you guys need the full presentation on it?
Yeah, just a quick summary. No, sure. Thank you for your patience. You want to just give us a summary on that letter that
Yeah.
some got?
Good evening. And
Welcome.
there is a federal law called the Lead and Copper Rule. It was amended about a year ago. We sent some letters out trying to do inventory of plumbing in the houses as was required by law. And as of the middle, I guess, of October, we had to submit to the state a status of our inventory. We have 29 known lead services in East Providence out of 15,200. We have another 29 or 30 that are galvanized iron, which really aren't bad numbers. Unfortunately, the language in the letters was drafted by the government, and it caused anxiety in a lot of folks. But we really didn't have any choice in that language. I think what it's important for people to know is that we've never had a lead level violation in the city of East Providence. And we meet the current standards through all of our testing. We test every year. So folks should, they don't know this yet, but they should, realize that this is a data collection effort on the part of the federal government. And it was all brought about by a reaction to Flint, Michigan, maybe 4 years ago, when they had kids with high lead level. This is a data collection. We don't know what some of these pipes are. We have to find out. We have a company that's going to be going into people's homes to check their plumbing. If somebody calls, and we've been taking tons of calls every day, making appointments, and out our staff to check people's plumbing. So I think the thing to realize is that we don't have a substantiated issue. But the government says that if you have service line and you don't know what the material is, you have to count it as lead. It's caused unnecessary anxiety.
To the best of your knowledge, heard anything about the schools within the city? Any issues?
There should not be any issues, but the rules also been amended that in 2025 or 26, we're going to start testing schools. The issue with lead in schools, really is related to the age of the plumbing. There was a Lead Reduction Act that passed several years back that prohibits use of lead in plumbing materials, and that was in the 80s. And that's slowly getting rid of anything that would have caused problems. And the issue with lead in schools is primarily due to water coolers and using the radiator.
Do we know if, I didn't dig, the Infrastructure Act that Congress passed, if there was a cutout specific for lead?
Well, there is, and as you may recall, we have a $26 million bond out right now that's doing some water meter replacement and cleaning and lining, and there's also money in there to replace lead services that we.
Okay, so we'll be okay. we
We
got
will.
the funding.
It's
to-
it's
Okay.
just a timing issue.
Nope, as long as it's funded, that's our role.
Oh, no, it's there. The money's
Awesome.
there.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you for your time and the update. Appreciate it. Yes.
And we also have the appointment of our new finance director, who has been working with our previous and longtime director in the transition. But I wanted to be able to introduce to the council Glenda Delgado. If you haven't had an
Hi, Glenda.
opportunity to meet her, she has jumped right in, and she's been very busy, and we're happy to have her.
So, Ms. Delgado, I'd like to ask you to come to the podium, please, so any viewers can become acquainted with you and officially welcome you here. I know you were here for a prior meeting, and it happened to be a public hearing we had on the Myrtle. There were no empty seats here, and I thought I saw you in the back, but we never got to introduce you. And so thank you for your patience, but welcome to the city. Are you going to stick it out? Or you're not going to run away?
Plans to run away.
Thank you. I know that Malcolm is physically done, right? He's gone. So you're here. Did he leave you a box of keys and things? We hope.
Yeah, he did. Most of it.
I'd invite you to make any statement you'd like to say
I
about
just
coming.
wanted to say thank you for welcoming me. I'm excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to working.
Great. Well, best of luck. And, you can contact any of us if we can answer anything for you or be of any assistance. Did you want to add something?
I've had one meeting with the new director, and I'm very impressed with her skills, and look forward to her finishing off our term and hopefully more terms with us. Thank you.
Great. Good luck and thank you for stepping forward.
And lastly, for our mayor communications agenda is, obviously, we discussed the Washington Bridge Small Business Grant Program payout, but I also wanted to invite the council on behalf of Mayor De Silva to join us on December 23rd, as we are going to have all the businesses come here into the council chambers so that we can provide them with their grant check and do all of the process, complete the process with them. And that'll be December 23rd.
23rd, is that
23rd
evening time or what time?
At 3 p.m., from 3 to
3
5 p.m.
Will the mayor dress up as Santa for that day?
He does have a burgundy suit, but I don't know if he'll dress as Santa for that evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Reports of other city officials, city solicitor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. As you know, the city council met in executive session as a claims committee on the following claims which were approved. The claim of Mr. Octavio Cunha in the amount of $515, which was unanimously approved. Claim of Victor Sylvia in the amount of $900 was approved, up to $900 was approved. Claim of Julie Coletti in the amount of $155.15 was also approved. And the claim of Barbara Frey of $100 was denied. As well as the council, as you did earlier, the ratification of the contract for the school ASME Local 94, Local 2969 was approved in open session. There was also an approval of 2 settlements that were on the agenda by a vote of 2-1. The amounts and the terms of those settlements won't be disclosed until we get all releases signed by all parties, but we'll do that at a different time. And I appreciate the council's support and help on that. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. Next item.
Resolutions for discussion and possible vote. Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Pure Technology to perform GPS mapping of the water transmission pipeline. Sponsor, Council President Rodrick.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion to approve by Councilman Lawson, seconded by Council Vice President Rego. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, 3-0. Thank you.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with SHI for update for access controller software and hardware. Sponsor, Councilman Lawson.
So we've heard stories, nightmares of cities being held for ransom with various things. Moving to a cloud-based system is best practice for security and stuff. And I think this is a great step forward. This is what I do all day, every day. And so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Lawson to approve, seconded by Council Vice President. And again, we have approved capital funds for these upgrades. So this is not any surprise funding at all. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have that, 3-0. Thank you. Next.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to purchase a Department of Public Works Parks Division.
Move passage.
And for my buddy Bill McMahon, I second that.
Motion by Council Vice President Rego, seconded by Councilman Lawson to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have that, 3-0.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to pick up trucks for the Department of Public Works Highway Division.
Move passage.
Same thing. This is for you, Bill. Second.
Motion by Council Vice President Rego, seconded by Councilman Lawson to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have that, 3-0.
Introduction of ordinances for the discussion and vote. Ordinance in amendment of Chapter 8. City of Providence, Rhode Island, 1998, as amended. Summary, ordinance section 18-. No parking from Potter Street to Purchase Street.
Is this first passage? It's first passage, okay.
I move motion for first passage.
Second.
Motion, Council Vice President Rego, seconded by Councilman Lawson. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Council Vice President Rego, seconded by Councilman Lawson. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. We will be meeting next week, Tuesday, 17th. Thank you.